let's talk about Tom King and Knightmares for a bit. So, for those of you that might have been wondering where's been our regular Batman book video, I kind of put that on hold for, well, this Nightmare story because it was so weird the first issue that I kind of had to wonder where it was going, and I don't. And sometimes I'll do that if I feel a story is a bit weird or I'm not quite sure about a new book. I'll go over the first issue and then I'll come back after having read the rest of it and sum it all up. The Nightmare story ultimately takes place after issue 60 of Batman, where that comic ends with Bruce finding out that the Thomas Wayne from the Flashpoint universe is in the Batcave, and we're then left. Well, okay, what happened then? And it turns out that's when the Nightmares story began. So, real quick, as someone who's been reading Tom King's Batman since the first issue, and not really a lot of his other stuff. I mean, I enjoyed his Mr. Miracle, and I read some of Grayson. Didn't really care for it. Didn't hate it. Just wasn't something I liked. And I've heard his vision's been good, but I haven't worked up the effort to care. And we've already know how I feel about Heroes in Crisis. Feels like it could be good, but at the same time, it's sort of bad. I've enjoyed most of his stories. I enjoyed I Am Gotham. I enjoyed I Am Suicide. I enjoyed I Am Bane. I enjoyed The War of Jokes and Riddles. I didn't enjoy the Ivy story. I didn't enjoy the Booster Gold story. I enjoyed everything else about the wedding, even the end of the wedding. I just didn't enjoy the stuff surrounding the wedding, like the prelude to the wedding story, which was sort of a waste of everyone's time, especially considering that they didn't get married. Since then, I've been watching the story sort of circle the drain a bit. There's been some really good stuff, like the Cold Case story, the KGB story. A lot of the stuff hasn't been as good since then, but it's still, in my opinion, been for the most part good. But then we come to this story here, which kicks off in Batman 61, and we don't quite realize it, but this is all a dream. From issues 61 to 69, this has all been a dream. So this is a dream about a kid named Matthew, and in an earlier Batman story, he was revealed to have killed his parents because he really wants to be like Bruce Wayne. So he killed his parents, and he's been going into prisons. He's been bribing his way into prisons to kill criminals, saying they killed my parents, when everyone knows this kid killed his parents. And this kid's legitimately crazy because he's apparently carved Thomas and Martha on his face because he really wants to be Bruce Wayne. And the question is, what does this have to do with the story of Batman? I mean, this is pretty much just a rehashed version of Thomas Elliot and Hush. Then we cut to Batman 62, which I think was sort of trying to give you the impression that we're still in the, Bruce is still in a weird spot after Selina left him, after the issues with Bane. That he's not quite on his best here, as Professor Pig has captured him, and he's trying to fight his way out of that before Professor Pig does what Professor Pig does and carves him up. But the whole time he's also talking about the issues with, Selina having left. That has not been quite right. And, okay, sure. And then it's revealed that this Professor Pig is actually Damien. And he's still stuck in a dream, and Damien's supposed to help him out. I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to be cool, different dreams with different, members of the Bat family trying to get him out. That'd be cool. And then it's Constantine trying to get him out, trying to realize that it's not real, that he's stuck in some sort of nightmare or dream world. Like, we don't quite know what's happened to him. And in this one, he's married to Selina. They're going out as Batman and Catwoman, fighting crime, constantly trying to get him out. And it doesn't quite feel like Batman, or Bruce in this case, is aware that it's bad that he should be. He's sort of like, well, I'm happy here. Could I just be happy here? And that leads to an altercation. In the Nightmare story, Selina Kyle is killed by Two-Face, and he's still sort of fighting his way out of it. He's still fighting people telling him it's not real, still fighting Constantine on it. Then we cut to later, because we had that little interruption with Heroes in Crisis tie-in with The Flash, The Price of Justice, and it's the Question talking to Selina about why she left him, and Selina doesn't address the fact that it was Holly that told her. And I don't think that Bruce can know this because it's a dream. You can't know what you don't know. You can only speculate. And Selina, for the most part, seems to just sort of rehash, I guess, what was in the letter. And I guess the letter also said that, hey, I don't think you can be happy and be Batman, at the same time. And the problem with that is I'm still finding it hard to care because it's not really Selina. You can go with, oh, well, it's the conversation you always wanted to have. Then why is he the Question? Is it creating more dissonance, more distance between the two of them, where Bruce is not ready to, so he picks the man who won't even show his face, who also currently isn't even in the DC universe right now. Like, no one's seen the Question outside of this story, I think. And it's just a series of questions that don't get answered. And this is actually, I think, the best story here, the Question and Selina. And I think it would have been a lot better had it not revealed this was also the Dream. And then it goes totally off the rocker with the next issue, which is Batman chasing a guy who's just the Joker, dressed to look like the Roadrunner with the color scheme, you know, the purple, the blue, and that would be interesting because we all really loved the Elmer Fudd story that he did, and that was great. This is not. This is just kind of lame. Then we go to issue 68, where it's Lois and Selina's bachelorette party, which is weird because we already read the story where we saw we saw Selina having a bachelorette party. We even saw Lois and Selina meet up, which was also a really good story. This one here is just sort of pointless because at the same time, Clark and Bruce are having a night out trying to sort of be normal. It turns out that Bruce sucks at being normal, although everyone that knows Batman at all knows he sucks at being normal, especially in Tom King's version, which I like. I like that he has to, like, carve up his burger like he's carving a steak, you know. He takes a legitimate knife and fork and cuts up his burger. I'm like, it's stupid, but you know what? Makes sense, sort of. And there's a little commentary on Tom King's view of marriage, or at least his ex-wife with Lois, which didn't work over so well with the fans, but I honestly don't care. I don't think this is that bad. I think everything surrounding it's a bit bad. Even more, like, the only real part of this that's interesting is Clark sort of helping us realize, oh yeah, this is still the Dream. This isn't a flashback to a bachelorette party that didn't happen. It's all still the same dream, or nightmare, as it's called, nightmare with a K. And it's Clark saying that, you know, this is actually your biggest nightmare. Think about it. Everyone is safe. The city, your friends, you, everyone's safe, and you couldn't be more miserable. In a moment where all that's left is to just kick back and relax, you can't do it. You're incapable of doing it. And even more so the idea that, you know, Bruce drove Selina away. You know, this is the reason why she left him on that rooftop. And he sums it up with that Superman loves being Superman, but he hates that he has to be Superman. Whereas Bruce hates being Batman, but loves that he has to be Batman. It's a lot of nothing just like the best thing about it is reminding us this is all a nightmare as Batman wakes up, well, not even wakes up, but we get a view of Batman hooked up to a machine. And just when I thought it was all over, I'm like, okay, so we're going to go to the actual story now, right? Nope. No. We cut to issue 69, which is why this was out. This is why this video is out this week instead of last week. So Batman meets up with a version of Selina. She's in her wedding dress and she looks great in it because it's a beautiful dress and Selina's hot. And Batman reveals, oh yeah, it's probably a version of the Scarecrow fear toxin, and the idea was that the fear toxin has a limit. Like, if you get too scared, it will start to break down. I don't quite get that, but whatever. It still doesn't quite work because I'm trying to wonder why I should care. Is the idea that Bruce is sort of overloading it by letting effectively his imagination run away with him, which, okay, I guess. But then it's revealed that Selina tells him, like, you didn't actually love me. Like, you wanted to love me, but you didn't. And I'm like, no, how does it even work? What is going on? And it tries to be cheerful, it tries to be sweet, but it's hard to really believe this because that's not really Selina. It's not really Catwoman. It's just Batman talking to himself effectively. And you could say, well, that's kind of deep, you know, Batman coming to terms with the fact that, you know, he wasn't in love with Selina, but that totally ignores everything else that happened in this entire series. Like, this entire run on Tom King has been very clear that he does love Selina Kyle. The question is, does he love her more than he loves being Batman? Well, Selina already made peace with that. We already know why she didn't marry Bruce was because Holly put the idea in her head that, you know, being happy might get him killed, which we, for the most part, know that isn't true, but whatever. And then, still nothing. But this is officially supposed to be the last part of the Nightmare story. So I'm like, okay, let's talk about why this is bad. And I think I'm hoping I communicated that. Every dream here is not really connected. Alright? Damien shows up at the end of one story, he's not there again. Constantine shows up in one story, and he's not there again. The Question, Superman, they're all there, and they're not even trying to guide him out. Like, if Bruce is trapped in his own head, then it'd be really cool if the people try to get him out of it. But it's not. This is like a weirder version of Perchance to Dream from the animated series, or uh, Bruce Wayne: The Road Home by, or was it, or The Return of Bruce Wayne by Grant Morrison, where Batman is traveling through time with no memory of himself, and he has to work his way to the present day, not knowing that he's a bomb by Darkseid, and Superman and friends have to stop him. All right, that's totally different than this. I don't quite know, and again, I love most of Tom King's work, even his stuff post wedding, which a lot of people have sort of been on the fence about. I felt was really good. But the problem is, why don't we just get to the Bane thing? Like, we already know, the readers already know the issues with Bane. Price of Justice already talked about the issues with Bane. Before we found out Bane was in control of Arkham Asylum, like the issue when the wedding was ended, we saw Bane with Riddler, with Joker, with Flashpoint Batman, with Gotham Girl. He was all set to go, and then we've had 10 to 15 issues of circling around that. And when we try to get into that story, we get pushed back for this Nightmare story. And this Nightmare story would be interesting if it was good, if we saw more of Bane, if we saw more of Thomas Wayne, which we will be getting apparently later. But at this point, I'm like, I just don't care. Anyway, with that in mind, this amount of complaining has been brought to you by the Bucket Think Tank. If you like this amount of complaining, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and share your thoughts on it. Love to hear them. And I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and may your fandom serve you well.